Go ahead.
Ceann Comhairle, this budget comes at a time when ordinary households are reeling from a cost of living crisis that's out of control. Workers and families hit by rip-off prices in every direction. It's getting harder and harder to make ends meet, harder and harder to keep up, and it shows no sign of letting up. It's rent, it's big electricity and gas bills, runaway food prices, the cost of petrol and diesel, crippling childcare fees, extortionate insurance premiums. The list is as long as your arm. You name it, it's going up. So this budget should have been a cost of living budget, a budget to end the rip-off, a budget to make life affordable. It should have been a budget to address with real purpose the big challenges of our generation, to turn the tide of crises, to deliver the affordable and social homes that people need, to build a health service where you get the treatment, services and care you need, and to build a better, fairer society. Instead, what you have served up is a budget written by Fine Gael as Fianna Fáil watches on, which abandons workers and families to look after those at the top. No action to end the rip-off, no break in tax for ordinary workers, but big tax breaks for developers, and people left high and dry as prices soar, confirming without a shadow of a doubt that election campaigns are where Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil make promises, and budgets are where you break them. Promises thrown in the bin by one of the most useless governments ever. And I want to address just some of these broken promises. Broken promise number one, cost of living. During the election, you were very clear over and again. You told people that tackling soaring prices and the runaway cost of living was the biggest priority for you. Well, as a man once said about empty promises, isn't that what you tend to do during an election? That's certainly true of you, lads. You've delivered a budget worth billions without a cost of living package to help workers and families. Now, that just beggars belief. You close your eyes, stick your fingers in your ears and convince yourself that households are doing fine. So with a surplus of over €10 billion, you can't help workers and families, according to you. Well, you could help. We proposed a substantial cost of living package to make life affordable for working families. You could have done that, but you chose not to. See, it doesn't suit Fine Gael's priorities. So it got pushed to the side so you can look after the golden circles, and you went along with that, Micheál. So let's be straight about it. In a time of massive surpluses, abandoning workers and families like this is the choice that you have made. Not alone are you not providing help, you've actually decided with your eyes wide open to make things even worse, even harder. So what does that say to people who feel that there's no end in sight to the rip-off? From this week, households will again be hit with double-digit hikes in electricity prices, and you have the nerve to withdraw energy credits. You give free rein to the energy companies to hike up their prices, as hundreds of thousands of households already can't afford their bills, and you cancel the one modest protection they had. But that's you all over. Let the big boys make their bumper record profits on the backs of hard-working people. No skin off your nose. Sinn Féin called on you not to make this terrible decision. We showed you how you could provide a €450 energy credit to help people through the winter, but you ignored it. Same story when it comes to food prices. In May 2023, Fine Gael Minister Neil Richmond puffed out his chest and told the top brass in the big supermarket chains that they had 6 weeks to get prices down. Do you remember that? 6 weeks. Well, that was 126 weeks ago, and grocery prices have gone through the roof. The supermarkets laugh all the way to the bank, while working parents skip meals to ensure that their children have enough to eat. Shameful. It underscores why people needed a cost of living package to get household costs down. You say that you recognise the pressure people are under, but your actions say otherwise. You certainly don't get how hard it is to keep a car on the road. Because despite years of motorists being hit by fuel increases, the first result of your budget is that petrol and diesel prices are hiked up, with the full and enthusiastic support of the Healy-Raes of the Kingdom of Kerry. Yeah. And what of the renters of Ireland? Only a few months ago you came forward with the bill that will put renters on the hook for massive rent hikes, and now you shaft them again. No increase in the renters' tax credit as you had promised, but Fine Gael and you dug deep to increase the tax break for landlords to €1,000. Little wonder that most of those pushed into the nightmare of homelessness come from the private rental sector. Renters are shafted for you to feather the nest of property funds, of vultures and of big wealthy investors. And no increase in child benefit. Child benefit remains stuck below where it was in 2008, nearly 20 years ago. How in God's name do you stand over that? What does it say to parents going out to work every day, doing everything they can to keep the show on the road? It says to them, tough, you're on your own. Broken promise number 2. You told workers that you would cut their taxes. However, as you deliver one of the largest tax cuts package in the history of the state, €2.5 billion in tax cuts, ordinary workers get absolutely nothing. Zero. So who does benefit? Well, developers are in luck. They've won the lotto because you're dishing out €250 million tax cuts for them. Happy days. I mean, it's not like turbocharging tax breaks for developers ever caused any problems in the past, is it, Micheál? We wanted to give workers a fairer deal, and you should have scrapped the USC on the first €40,000 of income for every worker, putting almost €750 back into workers' pockets. Everyone would have gotten a boost, but especially middle and lower income workers. We are certainly a far cry from 2016 and Fine Gael's pledge to scrap the USC, a Fianna Fáil tax. 9 years is a long time in politics. Today, you won't even reduce USC for those on and below the average wage, but that's you all over. This budget is anti-worker. It is self-congratulatory, backslapping in here yesterday, and it is completely detached from the reality of people's lives. Broken promise number 3, childcare. Before and during the general election, Simon Harris promised he would make childcare affordable. He pledged Fine Gael would deliver a pathway to €200 a month childcare within 100 days of government. Well, the first 100 days of government ran out on the 3rd of May, and that's more than 6 months ago. So that promised pathway must have run up a cul-de-sac somewhere because it's nowhere to be seen. This broken commitment means parents continuing to fork out a small fortune in childcare fees. That childcare promise was just another one of your trademark soundbites. Are you not embarrassed by the way you've tried to hoodwink parents? You should, of course, have introduced our plan that would actually deliver €10 a day childcare. It was possible. You could have done it, but you chose not to. Broken promise number 4, student fees. Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil put up in lights at the election that you would cut student fees. Every young person, every student you lads met on the campaign trail heard how you were going to reduce the cost of going to college. Simon Harris stood here just before the summer and with great gusto told students and their families that they had their backs, and then he took to TikTok to amplify that promise. Well, that was just another con job. because you delivered a budget that jacks up student fees by €500. And you have the neck to tell them that you're cutting their fees. Now, be clear, students and parents will not be fooled by your spin, because they will feel it in their pockets. Budget 2026 should have abolished student fees for good. You should be on a pathway to that. That's what you should have done, but you chose not to. We provided for a cut of €1,500 on the pathway to that. That was the right thing to do. Broken promise number 5. We will fix housing once and for all. How many times have we heard that pledge? A government that has caused record rents that keep going up and up. House prices far beyond the reach of hard-working people. Homelessness at a level we thought we'd never see. More than 5,000 children went to sleep last night in emergency accommodation with nowhere to call home. Shameful. In the election campaign last year, you deliberately misled the public on housing delivery figures. And since then, your own officials have rung the alarm bell about missing your housing targets every year up to 2030. And yes, the Taoiseach actually stood up and spoke today about building on our successes under Housing for All. Well, Mother of God, spare us. You've repeatedly claimed that we're turning the corner on housing, but the fact is that you're going backwards. You see, you don't have the ambition, the determination, you actually don't have the ideas necessary to deliver the affordable homes that people need. Instead of real action, what we get are half-baked gimmicks, like your infamous housing czar carry on. Your refusal, your inability to do what needs to be done has locked a generation out of affordable housing to rent or buy, left people stuck in the box rooms of their parents' homes into their 30s, into their 40s, and sent young people packing to Canada and Australia because they've lost hope of ever owning a home of their own. These are the consequences of your failure. 12 years ago, Fine Gael rolled out the red carpet for the vulture funds with sweetheart tax arrangements, and nothing has changed. Today, your policy remains wedded to the interests of wealthy property funds, developers and big landlords over the housing needs of ordinary people. And the Taoiseach today described this strategy as government policy encouraging private investment to crowd in. And what that achieves, Taoiseach, and has achieved, is everybody else crowded out. But you have clarified that that is your approach. This budget fails again the necessary work of bringing home ownership back within the reach of working people, building the affordable and social homes needed, banning rent increases for 3 years, delivering the investment needed to end the housing emergency and to restore the hope of a generation. A big fail on your part. Broken promise number 6. 8 years ago, Simon Harris promised that no child would wait longer than 4 months for spinal surgery for scoliosis. That promise, as we know, was broken again and again. Harvey Morrison Sherratt was one child left waiting. He died in July. And his heartbreaking death must be a tipping point for this government when it comes to the delivery of healthcare. But in this budget, you knowingly underfund the health service. You deliver a recipe for deepening catastrophe that sees our hospitals overcrowded, A&Es under huge pressure every day, a year-round trolley crisis, and hundreds of thousands of people on waiting lists. Waiting, just like Harvey did. The Disability Federation of Ireland has described your budget as, and let me quote, a devastating setback for disabled people unable to work. They say your investment will reach only a fraction of the 1 million disabled people who need support. You've removed the one-off payments that made a difference last year, so you take a backward step addressing the additional cost pressures people with disabilities face every day. You've increased the disability allowance by €10. That's insulting. You should have doubled that. and increased it by €20 to give disabled people real help with the cost of living, but they've been left behind again. Fine Gael have been in government for nearly 15 years. At your rate of investment, it will take you nearly 14 years to deliver your 7-year bed plan. I mean, there is really no plan in the end. No sign of new money for women's health and endometriosis, nothing to reduce the cost of healthcare, and no money listed for critical national strategies such as cancer, maternity and cardiac care. You have, you see, the opportunity and you have the resources to transform the health service by investing and innovating, but you make no effort. You have no vision. It's just the same old script again and again. Broken promise number 7. You promised to abolish the carers means test. Our carers are the best of us, and they deserve respect, recognition. They deserve action from the government that relieves the daily pressure they come under as they do their amazing work. Your election promise was specific and it was clear: to scrap the carers means test. The budget should have delivered on that promise, but at your rate of investment, what you've provided for in this budget, it would take over a decade to abolish the means test. That's not right, that's not fair, and once again you sell carers short. Is buséad é seo a toscríofaigh Fine Gael, agus Fianna Fáil nos imánathe an glí, a brathnú wehu. A réig an Ibrithe agus Chowley chun ara a thuairt dóibh siúd war an dréimire. Agus é seo I meas pacáistí cánacha mór. Ní gearra cán bit ann de gnáid brí, ach tá gearra mór cán ann de hiarní talún agus forbarí, agus tá daoine fóca in áit na leathfingine. Níl gníomh bit ann chun an sálas stoppa agus freisne ordú as smach. Gealtanis rialtas scrista agus caite sa bhusca brúscar a ceann den na rialtas is massa riamh. 7 months ago, Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil entered a grubby deal with Michael Lowry, a politician that has always shown up for those on top by all means necessary. You tried to con ordinary people by telling them at the time that your deal was really about delivering for them. But nothing could be further from the truth. You see, it was all about self-interest and maintaining power. You would stop at nothing to protect your positions, even when it meant taking Seachta Lowry and making him kingmaker in your government. A man, remember, whose actions as a minister were found by a tribunal to have been, and let me quote directly, profoundly corrupt to a degree that was nothing short of breathtaking. In that grubby deal, the well-being of workers and families, their entitlement to a good life, wasn't even on your radar, barely an afterthought. It was all about delivery for the privileged few over the needs of the many. And so it is with this budget, which abandons workers and families to look after those at the top. A most irresponsible strategy and approach. At a time when the state has an abundance of wealth, you choose to use that wealth to feather the nests of the golden circles and to cheat working people of their fair share. The same government that wastes millions of taxpayers' money on bike sheds, security huts, replacement walls, renting offices that lie empty. But when it comes to helping workers and families, the cupboard is always bare. Your promises are made only to be broken. And with no general election in prospect, as workers and families really struggle, at a time when they really need support, you walk away. You are a cynical, self-serving, jaded government. You are incapable of keeping promises made, and your budget is testimony to that.
Thank you, Deputy.